Welcome back to the DRS zone. Strap yourselves in, tighten those belts, and check your mirrors, because we are going lights out and away we go.
Let's do it.
I am your host, ready to bring the heat, and let's get one thing straight right off the line. This is the only place you need to be for raw, unfiltered, high-octane Formula One analysis.
We really do tear the engine apart here.
We do. And folks, today the engine is absolutely screaming. We're looking at a 2026 grid that is trembling with seismic shifts, but somehow we're also staring into the rearview mirror at a ghost that just refuses to bust.
It is incredible, isn't it? In a sport that is defined by speed, by looking forward, we just keep getting pulled back.
To that one moment.
But the intensity today is palpable. This isn't just, fan theories on Reddit anymore.
Sure.
We are dealing with testimony from inside the FIA machinery itself.
Exactly. You think the dust had settled on the desert sands of Abu Dhabi. Think again. We have explosive new statements that have reignited the biggest firestorm in modern racing history. We are talking 2021.
The decide.
And this isn't some random pundit. This is a former driver and a longtime steward breaking his silence. But before we open that can of worms, and trust me, it is a massive can, we have to look at the absolute chaos unfolding right now in 2026.
It really is the perfect storm. We have the past haunting the present, and the present looks incredibly unstable for some of the biggest names on the grid.
Big names. We're seeing a structural integrity being tested at Red Bull.
And, well, just ruthless decision-making at Ferrari.
So here is our mission for this deep dive. We are going to dissect the shockwaves coming out of Maranello and Milton Keynes, and then we are going to unpack the bombshell claim that Michael Masi gifted, and that is a, quote, gifted the title to Max Verstappen.
We're asking the hard questions today about integrity, pressure, and legacy.
And we have to be precise. We're going to look at the what, the why, and maybe the so what. Why does a decision from 5 years ago still matter so much?
And how does it connect to the fragility we are seeing right now? Let's get into it.
Let's hit the track. This is the warm-up lap hour rapid-fire analysis of the current grid news. And we have to start with the defending champions, or at least the team trying to defend its legacy, Red Bull Racing. We have some incredibly blunt comments coming from the top, specifically regarding Max Verstappen.
Right. This is the classic, will he stay or will he go saga. But the tone has shifted. We're looking at comments from Helmut Marko, and he is not mincing words.
What's the killer line?
The quote that just jumps out is, "It is clear that we cannot tie down Verstappen if the new engine doesn't perform."
Whoa, that is a fascinating admission. Usually teams project absolute confidence. Our engine is great, everything is fine.
Right, we're one big happy family. But Marko is basically saying, look, contracts are just paper if the car is slow.
It's a warning shot, isn't it?
Oh, a massive one. Remember, 2026 is the new regulation era. The power units are completely different. More electrical power, sustainable fuels. It's a lottery.
An engine formula lottery.
And Marko is publicly acknowledging that if Red Bull powertrains, their own in-house project, doesn't hit the numbers, that exit clause in Max's contract becomes the most dangerous document in Formula One.
The performance clause.
Yeah.
And for you, the listener, this is key. You don't say this publicly unless you're genuinely worried.
Or you're trying to pressure your own engineers. It's psychological warfare against his own factory.
He's telling them, you aren't just building an engine, you are building the only thing keeping the best driver in the world in our garage.
Exactly. If that engine is a dud, Max walks. And where does he walk? Well, that brings us to the next chaotic situation.
Ferrari, the Scuderia. Always dramatic, always theatrical, but what's coming out of Maranello sounds less like a racing team and more like a medieval court execution.
The language in the reports is incredibly specific. They use the word fulminated.
Fulminated. I love that word. It sounds like something out of a fantasy novel.
But in reality, it just means someone lost their job in a very public, very harsh way.
So who got fulminated?
The report states Maranello has fulminated, struck down Lewis Hamilton's engineer.
Wow.
Now, just pause and think about the gravity of that. Lewis Hamilton, 7-time champion, joins Ferrari for his swan song, and before the season really finds its rhythm, his key technical contact is just gone.
That feels suicidal for a team. The relationship between a driver and their race engineer is so intimate. It's like a marriage.
You need someone who understands your tone of voice,
Yeah.
your breathing, everything. Why would Ferrari sever that connection right now?
Panic.
It has to be panic. The sources suggest this is about ruthlessness.
Hmm.
Ferrari is desperate to find performance in the 2026 car.
So if they feel there is a communication breakdown or the engineer isn't adapting fast enough,
They're cutting the cord immediately. But for Lewis, this is a nightmare. He relies so heavily on building that safe space with his engineer to execute those strategies.
so Lewis is isolated at Ferrari, Max is threatening to leave Red Bull, and meanwhile, over at Aston Martin, things are looking surprisingly optimistic.
The Adrian Newey effect.
We're hearing about it on the AMR 26, yeah.
This is the flip side of the coin. While Ferrari is firing people, Aston Martin's apparently being saved by the skin of their teeth. The report uses a Spanish idiom, saved by the hair, which implies a last-second rescue.
And the savior is Adrian Newey.
It has to be. The AMR 26 was reportedly looking dire in the wind tunnel early on, but Newey's input, likely a fundamental shift in the floor philosophy or something, has granted Fernando Alonso an extra life.
It's like a video game analogy. Alonso was down to his last heart, the game over screen was flashing.
And Newey just handed him a one-up mushroom.
Exactly. It validates that massive investment Aston made. You pay Adrian Newey the big bucks to spot the mistake everyone else missed.
Before the car is even built. If they have truly turned it around, Alonso could be the dark horse in this title fight, while Red Bull and Ferrari are busy imploding.
So the 2026 grid is unstable, contracts are shaky, engineers are fired, legends get new lives. But now, let's shift gears. Let's go to the main event. The topic that makes every F1 fan's blood pressure spike, regardless of who you root for. We need to look at why the atmosphere in F1 feels so fragile.
It all stems from that moment where the rulebook was essentially thrown into a shredder.
We are going back to the desert, Abu Dhabi 2021.
Yep.
And before we dive in, I need to make this clear. This segment is part of our news coverage of recent F1 events. We are reporting on new information that has come to light regarding that day.
Right. And the source of this new turbulence is a man named Danny Sullivan.
Now, for those listening who might only know the current grid, let's unpack who this is. This isn't just a guy with a blog.
No, absolutely not. Danny Sullivan is a serious figure. He's a former Formula One driver, drove for Tyrrell back in 1983.
But more importantly
For this conversation, he served as an FIA steward for 14 years.
14 years, that is a lifetime in F1 politics. He's seen every trick in the book.
And crucially, he was a steward during the 2021 season. He officiated 2 rounds that year. So while he wasn't in the room at Abu Dhabi, he was part of that specific regulatory body during that specific season. He knows the rules.
Okay, so his credentials are stamped. Here is the headline that is shaking the paddock. Sullivan has come out and explicitly stated that race director Michael Masi gifted the title to Max Verstappen.
He didn't say made a mistake. He didn't say was confused.
He used the word gifted.
It's a heavy word. The quote is, Masi basically gifted the world championship with that decision. He argues the decision-making process directly prevented Lewis Hamilton from securing his 8th crown.
Let's go back to that night at Yas Marina. Because 5 years later, memories get fuzzy. Reconstruct the scene for us from Sullivan's technical perspective.
Okay, it comes down to 2 things, tires and procedure. On the track, you had Lewis Hamilton leading comfortably, but he was on hard compound tires that were 44 laps old.
Which, in F1 terms, means they were basically granite, rocks, zero grip.
Exactly, dead. Then Nicholas Latifi crashes. Chaos. Safety car is deployed.
And Verstappen pits.
Verstappen, seeing the safety car, pits. He bolts on a set of fresh reds, the soft compound tires. So now you have this huge performance delta between Max and Lewis.
But, and this is the big but, there are lapped cars physically on the track between Lewis in P1 and Max in P2.
Correct. And this is where the procedure falls apart. Article 48.12 of the sporting regulations stated that any lapped cars are required to overtake the safety car. The standard interpretation for decades was that you clear all the traffic.
But Masai had a problem. He was running out of laps.
He was. And this is where Sullivan lays out the what-if scenarios that prove the gift. Let's look at Scenario A. Scenario A is strict adherence to the rules. Masai lets all the lapped cars go. The time it takes to do that means the final lap happens behind the safety car.
The result.
The race ends under yellow. Lewis Hamilton wins the race and the championship.
Right. Scenario B.
Scenario B. Masi decides there isn't enough time to unlap everyone. So he exercises his authority to let no one unlap themselves. He restarts the race for 1 lap, But Max still has 5 backmarkers between him and Lewis.
Result of that one.
Max has to overtake 5 cars and then catch Lewis in 1 lap. It's functionally impossible.
Yeah.
Lewis wins the race and the championship.
So in both legal scenarios, A and B Lewis wins, but Masi invented scenario C.
The freestyle option, exactly. And this is what Sullivan critiques so heavily. Masi only allowed the 5 specific cars that were physically between Hamilton and Verstappen to unlap.
He cleared the path only for them.
He curated the fight. He directed the scene like a movie director.
I think he has a shootout.
He engineered a shootout. And Sullivan points out why this was a gift. By removing those 5 cars, he put Max on fresh softs right on the gearbox of Lewis on dead hard tires.
And Sullivan's verdict on that?
Brutal. He says it was impossible not to overtake in that situation. By clearing those specific cars, Masi made the overtake inevitable. That is why Sullivan calls it a gift.
It's fascinating because it validates what so many fans felt in that moment. It just felt manufactured.
Not necessarily rigged in a conspiracy way, but manufactured for entertainment.
The sport versus show debate.
And that's the tension. Masi wanted a green flag finish. Understandable from a dramatic perspective, but Sullivan is saying that from a sporting perspective, ending under yellow was the only legal outcome.
Now, here is where it gets really interesting to me. Sullivan isn't coming at this as a Lewis Hamilton fanboy.
No, this is crucial for his credibility. He explicitly states the opposite.
What does he say?
He admits, I'm a fan of Max. Max did nothing wrong. He even jokes that if he were Dutch, he'd take the trophy and run.
So it's not an attack on Verstappen?
Not at all. It's an attack on the refereeing. It separates the driver from the decision.
Right.
And Sullivan notes the empathy he has for Masi. He talks about the pressure cooker, 22 races, constant travel, fatigue. And crucially, you have Christian Horner and Toto Wolff screaming in Masi's ear.
No, Mikey, no, that was so not right. I can still hear it.
He says the teams were attacking the race director constantly. It all boiled down to the last 5 minutes of a chaotic year. Masi cracked under pressure.
And he prioritized the visual spectacle.
Over the strict procedural adherence that would have secured Hamilton the title. Yes.
It is a tragedy of errors, really. You have the greatest champion of all time, Lewis, just helpless. And you have Max, hungry, ready to pounce. It changed history.
It did. And let's look at the fallout. Toto Wolff called Masi a lunatic. Said he destroyed the record of the greatest champion of all time.
That is heavy. And honestly, where is Michael Masi now? The FIA didn't exactly stand by him, did they?
No, and that action speaks louder than any press release. They implicitly admitted a mistake was made by removing Masi from his F1 role.
Where did he land?
He is the event director for the Repco Next Gen NZ Championship in New Zealand.
From the F1 World Championship decider to a domestic series. That is quite the career adjustment.
It is an exile. It's the FIA saying, we cannot have this person in charge anymore.
And what's Sullivan's final thought on all of it?
It's haunting. He says that as long as we are still debating this, which we are, 5 years later, it proves it wasn't a good decision.
That's the key, isn't it? Good officiating is invisible. If you leave the stadium talking about the referee failed.
Exactly. If it was a clean kill, we wouldn't be talking about the procedure. We'd be talking about Max's incredible overtake.
Ugh.
But we are talking about the safety car.
And even if you believe Max is a deserving champion, which he is, the manner of it has left a permanent asterisk for many.
It denied Lewis that record-breaking 8th title in a way that felt unjust to the laws of the sport.
And think about Lewis. The source mentions his shock. He was mute for months.
He was in mourning for the sport he knew. When you play a game your entire life and in the final moment, the referee changes the rules, that breaks your reality.
It's like playing chess. You have checkmate, and the arbiter says, actually, pawns can move backwards now. You lose.
That is a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And that is why the ghost of Abu Dhabi won't vanish.
So, bringing it back to today. We have a 14-year steward calling it a gift. We have the FIA having fired the guy who did it. The echoes of 2021 are absolutely shaping the 2026 grid.
It's all connected. The distrust that started that night changed everything. It changed how rules are written, the radio protocols.
Yeah.
The sport is different because of that night.
It raises a massive question. We want entertainment, sure. We want Drive to Survive drama, but at what cost?
The cost is integrity. If the fans can't trust the rules apply equally, then it ceases to be a sport and becomes wrestling. Scripted.
And Sullivan's testimony is a stark reminder that on that night, the needle swung too far toward show.
Masi gifted the title. That's the headline that will stick. And remember, Sullivan isn't saying Max didn't deserve a championship season. He is saying he was given that specific race.
And in a winner-takes-all finale, The race is the championship. It's a distinction that makes all the difference in the world.
And that's why F1 is unlike any other sport. The machinery is complex, the politics are brutal, and the memories are long.
So, here's the big question for you, the listener. We've heard an FIA insider call it a gift. If the people trained to enforce the rules say the rules were broken to create a winner, can we ever truly call the book closed on 2021?
It feels like an unhealed wound. And until someone truly acknowledges it at the highest level beyond just firing MASI, it might never heal.
A heavy thought to leave you with. The history books are written in ink, but the footnotes are written in blood and rubber.
And the ink on 2021 is still wet.
Absolutely. Look, this season is shaping up to be a monster. With the Red Bull engine drama, the Ferrari firings, and the Aston Martin resurgence, you cannot afford to miss a single beat.
The grid is shaking, and we'll be here to measure the magnitude of every tremor.
You know what to do. If you want the deep dives that others are too afraid to do, you need to follow DRS Zone. Right now, go to TikTok, go to Instagram, go to YouTube. Hit that follow button.
Don't just watch the race, understand the war.
Perfectly said. I'm your host, he's the expert, and this has been the DRS Zone. Keep your foot on the floor, and we will see you at the checkered flag.
Cheers.